Do you think it's essential for democracy to have a free and fair election?
We need free and fair elections.
Free and fair elections, great, thank you so much. And yet, you have, to this day, refused to acknowledge that President Trump lost the 2020 election. Resoundingly false, even by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Do you still stand by that prior statement, Ms. Lake?
I know that many members of Congress care more about funding Ukraine.
Do you stand by that statement, which is clearly a lie?
I know that. What does this have to do with the U.S. Agency for Global Media?
I'm asking you whether you support the policies of dictators and authoritarians or whether you support democracy. You have said that Viktor Orbán is the greatest in Europe. So do you think that Viktor Orbán is doing it right when he bans pride parades?
Rep. Pramila Jayapal challenges a controversial nominee, likely Kari Lake, over her refusal to accept the 2020 election results, praise for authoritarian leader Viktor Orbán, and promotion of Russian disinformation. Can someone who questions democracy at home be trusted to promote it abroad?
Ms. Jayapal from Washington for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here, Ms. Lake. The U.S. Agency for Global Media is tasked with providing unbiased news worldwide to over 427 million listeners, many of whom live in countries without freedom of press or freedom of the speech. And it is your job to promote the American ideals of freedom and democracy. So I wanted to start just by confirming, do you support democracy or authoritarianism?
I think that's pretty obvious. I support freedom and democracy.
Democracy. Great. Would you agree that accepting the results of a fair and free election are critical to a functioning democracy?
Would you agree that standing up and cheering for a cancer survivor would have been the nice thing to do?
Ms. Lake, this is my time.
Okay.
Would you accept that accepting the results of a free and fair election are critical to a functioning democracy? It's a yes or no question. Do you think it's essential for democracy to have a free and fair election?
We need free and fair elections.
Free and fair elections, great, thank you so much. And yet, you have, to this day, refused to acknowledge that President Trump lost the 2020 election, something that even members of President Trump's own Justice Department have admitted and multiple lawsuits have shown. And we heard my colleague from Arizona talk about what happened in Arizona. So it concerns me that you are now tasked with this responsibility of ensuring democracy around the world when you won't even accept a free and fair election. I'm also concerned by your ability to promote the American ideals of freedom and democracy, given your record defending and praising dictators. Let's look at Hungary. You previously stated that Hungary is, quote, doing it right, and that Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán was, quote, the greatest in America, greatest in caps, and, quote, and equal to President Trump. Do you stand by those statements?
I think that Viktor Orbán has done a very good job at protecting his people and protecting the Hungarian culture. And
so,
I think
Ms. Lake,
if you ask people in Europe, other parts of Europe,
the question here is very simple.
They would be wishing that their leaders stood up for their people.
Is Viktor Orbán the greatest in Europe? Yes or no?
I think he's done the best job in Europe, yes.
Okay, and so even Secretary Rubio acknowledged in a 2019 letter that under Orban, Hungary took a downward democratic trajectory, and yet you insist that Hungary is doing it right. I want to cover some of the policies that Mr. Orban is responsible for. Would you consider banning LGBTQ pride parades like Viktor Orban has done in Hungary as doing it right, recognizing that pride parades are protected under the First Amendment?
What does this have to do with the U.S. Agency for Global Media?
I'm asking you whether you support the policies of dictators and authoritarians or whether you support democracy. You have said that Viktor Orbán is the greatest in Europe. So do you think that Viktor Orbán is doing it right when he bans pride parades?
I think Viktor Orbán has put the people of his country first.
So the answer is yes, you think it's appropriate that he's banning pride parades and using facial recognition technology to actually profile people that go to those parades. How about the fact that Orban and his party control 80% of Hungary's media market?
Are we here talking about Hungary?
Yes, we are, because guess what? Your agency actually is responsible for other countries
Hungary
and
is an
unbiased
ally. Can I remind you that Hungary is an ally of America?
Oh, and so you think that it's okay that Viktor Orbán, the greatest in Europe, according to you, controls 80% of Hungary's media market? Is that level free and fair reporting?
I don't. You obviously don't like our ally Hungary. I think that
I'm
the
asking
people have
you
voted
if
for him,
you
and the
think
people of
that it's
Hungary will decide.
appropriate. Ms. Lake, it is my time. I'm asking you if it is appropriate that a country, Viktor Orbán's government, controls 80% of Hungary's media market. It's just a yes or a no. Do you think that's okay? Think he's the greatest of all
I don't have
time?
an opinion on what Viktor Orbán is doing in Hungary.
It's not up for
Other
debate.
than I
It's
know
a
he puts his
fact
people
that has been
first.
documented by numerous organizations.
who?
Now,
Can
not
you tell me
only
where that
have you
fact come
supported,
from?
not only
Where
have
did
you
that
supported,
fact come
excuse
from,
me, Ms. Lake,
Representative?
I'm sorry to remind you, you are not a governor. You're not even a candidate for governor. You're here, and this is my time. Not only have you supported dictators that have supported policies that erode democracy, you also spread claims promoted by Russian state media that the Pentagon was funding bioweapon labs in Ukraine. These claims have been proven resoundingly false, even by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Do you still stand by that prior
Look,
statement, Ms. Lake?
I know that many members of Congress care more about
Do
funding
you
Ukraine
stand
than
by that statement,
order?
which is clearly a lie?
I know that you
are
voted.
responsible for an agency that is supposed to promote truth, and yet, over and over again, you are promoting dictators and authoritarians and lies. So I am asking you if you stand by the statement that you made that was promoted by Russian state media that the Pentagon was funding bioweapon labs in Ukraine. Proven false by Marco Rubio. Do you stand by that
I
statement?
understand you're trying to get a fundraising video here.
Okay,
So
well,
let me
you
help
clearly
make-
don't
let me
understand that
reminding
you are
the
Lady's
actually
time
here
has
before
expired.
District.
before
Your time
Congress. Mr.
expired, Ms.
Chairman, I
Jayapal.
just want to say
you had
that
more than enough time. I gave you a few extra
I
seconds, and
understand,
your time
and
has expired.
unfortunately,
and I now recognize Representative
Ms. Lake
Davidson.
is not responding
Can
to
I
the
have
questions.
just 1 second to respond? Because who is going to be speaking
Representative
next?
Davidson is next.
Oh, may I have just 1 second to respond to that? Obviously, from some of the questions we're hearing from the Democrats, they care more about a lot of other countries than America. And we've seen